What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video on the Yes Driving YouTube channel. In today's video, I present you with how I would create the perfect open world racing game. In my opinion, if a game is to be perfect, each essential piece of that game, which I'm about to mention, has to be developed accurately and, more importantly, makes the player want to continue playing. The essential pieces that I believe, when all put together, make an amazing racing game are these 6 things: the story, map, graphics, physics, customization, which includes cars, houses, and the player, and lastly, vehicle features. When each of those essential pieces are done well, a game can finally be considered perfect. Alright, let's get right into the video. First up is probably the most difficult piece of any game for a developer to create, and that is the story. I think the story is challenging because it has to attract many different players who don't necessarily all like the same thing. That being said, I think that I have come up with a fantastic story that will attract everybody from car enthusiasts to those fascinated with crime and mystery. So, without further ado, here's my grand idea for a story that captures a wide variety of people's interests and, most importantly, keeps them playing the game. Because this game that I have figuratively created is open world and I hope that people actually enjoy it, the main character won't be an influencer. I personally like stories that involve some sort of action scene at the beginning that then ignites a fire of revenge in the main character. So, the story in my ideal game is about a racing driver seeking revenge. Before the moment that will indefinitely spark revenge in my main character, part of the story will be about my main character, let's call him X, on the top of the illegal street racing scene. His cars are fast and people from all over the county know his name. There's this other guy, the soon-to-be villain, who is a couple years older than X, and he too is making a name for himself. A big showdown race between X and the soon-to-be villain is about to happen, and from here on out, let's call the soon-to-be villain just the villain. Okay, so this big showdown race basically starts, and immediately the two drivers are neck and neck and door to door. They're racing door to door, and they really start to open up their cars when they get to the highway. A big braking zone is close, and both guys get on their brakes pretty aggressively. The villain takes the turn, and the main character's brakes fail, and the car shoots off into a nearby gully and is immediately surrounded by all the bushes. The cops arrest X for illegal street racing and evading arrest. X knows that somebody tampered with his car, but there's no way that he can prove it. The next scene in my story will take place 1 year later after X's crash. So basically, this next scene, which is a year later, is X sitting in an interrogation room, and a young police detective begins to ask him questions about street racing because the detective knows that X's reputation as a street racer is pretty great. The cops inform X that once his car was seized and inspected, the brake lines appeared to have a few holes deliberately drilled into them. The cops also show a security video brought forward by an anonymous source of a car arriving at X's workshop and then leaving shortly after. The car that arrived was the car that the villain had used in the race. The only problem is that the cops can't find the car that the villain used to race in, so the cops can't arrest the villain for attempted murder. The cops ask X for his help to take down the villain by finding the villain's car in exchange for my character not doing any more jail time. So think about it like this: my story is about redemption. The main character wants to take down the villain and get back into the street racing scene to prove that he is still the best, and more importantly, to prove that his accident wasn't his fault. Some unsuspecting people might want to help him through his journey, maybe the same people who showed the cops the original security footage. Wink wink. The cops are now encouraging X to street race so that he can find the villain's car that was shown in security footage cutting the brake lines. I want the ending of my story to kind of be like how the Need for Speed movie ended, when Toby brings the Koenigsegg Agera R to race Dino. That Agera R was used by Dino to kill Toby's best friend Pete. So I think you get the point of how I want my story to end. The main character wins, and the bad guy gets arrested and thrown into jail. I believe a story like that would keep a player interested. However, in my opinion, a story is nothing without a great map. In order for a map to be fun, there are a few key elements that have to be implemented flawlessly. One of those first elements, and the most important element in a map, is definitely the location. Now I know that contradicts my point of not caring about the map in my Forza Horizon 5 wishlist video, but in my perfect game, location matters greatly to me. My desired location and my idea of a perfect racing game would be in some country along the Mediterranean, preferably the picturesque country of Italy. I want Italy because I just feel like it would be amazing to cruise along an oceanside road, as well as rip through wine vineyards and rally cars. The next map element after location is definitely the highway. Not just any old highway. A highway that is straight and perfect for finding out the VMAX of any vehicle. Along with the highway, there should also be a large airport that would be perfect for drag races. Think of the Forza Horizon 3 runway, and that is exactly what I want in my game. A game wouldn't be fun with only straight roads and a massive runway, so my ideal game would also include a perfect road for drifting. Think about the road in Forza Horizon 4's Fortune Island that is used for drifting, and that is my idea of a great drifting road in my perfect game. All of those things, location, highway, airstrip, and drifting roads seem cool and all, but I wish for there to be a lot of elevation change in my game. I think it would be very boring if a map was just flat. A flat map in a country like Italy would be very unrealistic in my opinion, and wouldn't be that fun. Lastly, my ideal map would have a well-executed main city. A city that has good drifting corners, a parking lot to showcase one's car, and elevations inside the city itself would also be incredible. Since this game would be in Italy, the capital city of Italy, which is Rome, would be best portrayed in my game by having narrow streets and wide open areas for doing burnouts and car shows. I think the main city would be so amazing in my perfect game. Next, let's move on and talk about the graphics. Coming from my own experience, I truly do believe that an amazing story and an excellent map would certainly be entertaining even if the graphics weren't that good. However, in my perfect game, I want to have insane graphics. I know that in some games, graphics don't really matter, but this is my ideal racing game, and also I believe that casual games, where you can just log on and chill, should have great graphics in order to keep the player playing. As I mentioned previously, I want this game to be in Italy and along the Mediterranean. When I think of the Mediterranean, I think of how absolutely beautiful and gorgeous it is. I'd want this game of mine to be just as stunning as Italy is in real life. So, if you're wondering about ray tracing, I definitely want ray tracing. Next is a very crucial piece of any racing game, and that is the physics. It's hard to nail this part of an open world racing game because there are many different factors that always come into play. A stone wall breaks different from an iron gate, and the smokes from burnouts is different from that of the clouds in the sky. I want this game to be realistic, but I don't want it to feel like a sim game. I really like the feeling of the cars in Horizon 4, and I would probably like to take that game's physics and modify them slightly and put them in my perfect game. So here's what I would change about the Horizon 4 physics in order to make them ideal for my perfect game. First, the sense of speed. Going 100 miles per hour in real life feels and looks fast, but in a video game, 100 miles per hour looks more like 50. When the player's going 200 miles per hour, I want them to feel like they're going very, very fast. Second, I want there to be a lot of burnout smoke. In my opinion, racing games don't show nearly as much tire smoke as they should. If I'm doing a burnout in my dream game, I certainly want a whole lot of tire smoke. Third, we must cover crash damage. If simulation damage is turned on, running into a barrier in some sort of supercar at over 50 miles per hour would stop the car dead in its tracks. I want the car to also show damage in the form of bumpers coming off and doors being pushed in. When a car is damaged and so damaged that it can't even move, I think that the wheels should come off the hubs of the vehicle. Right after physics, we must go right into customization. If the customization in an open world racing game isn't implemented well, the game will be less fun and people won't want to play it. Customization is crucial. That being said, I want to talk about how I would customize cars, the player, and all the player houses. Let's jump right into talking about vehicle customization. Right off the bat here, I think that the newest installment of Need for Speed, which is Need for Speed Heat, has the best customization of any racing game. From the body kits on every car to the airbags that slam vehicles to the ground, the cars are fully customizable. In my perfect game, I would take the cosmetic upgrading directly from Need for Speed Heat. However, the gear tuning and suspension tuning I would take from Forza Horizon 4 because I love how you can test and tune the gear and suspension ratios. Alright, mods that increase a vehicle's power would be unlocked by a certain level in this game. All the cosmetic customization would be available from level 1. Alright, now let's talk about customizing the player. I think everything about the player should be able to change from the shirt color to tattoos on the player. When I think of a game that has player customization like this, I think of two games, GTA 5 and Tom Clancy's Wildlands. In both of these games, I like that the player is able to customize just about everything on their character. I would want that level of customization for my player in my ideal racing game. From the players to the houses. I really like the concept of a player being able to purchase a house so that they don't always have to go to the same spot in order to upgrade their vehicles. I like having many spots around the map where a player can pull off and upgrade their car. In my dream game, I would want to customize my houses. So here is my idea for customizing my house. When you enter your house in your vehicle, you would only get access to the garage. In the garage, you can add pictures of in-game photos that you took, and you can display your favorite cars the way you like. Now we must move over to essential vehicle features. Now, what are those? What am I talking about? What are essential vehicle features? Well, I believe that these are critical in order to keep the player happy while playing. In my idea of a perfect game, these essential features would be launch control in every vehicle, windows that can roll up and down, working blinkers, and the ability to turn off and on your headlights. Alright guys, that's basically the end of my video. Those are my thoughts on how I'd create the perfect open world racing game. If everything that I have mentioned above comes together, well, we're gonna have a perfect game. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. See you all in the next one.